Okay, welcome to session 6 of this Cultivating Contentment series. And today we're exploring cultivating contentment around food. So we're taking a little break from those four components that we were exploring, which were ruminating, boredom, negativity bias, and then hedonistic adaptation. So these are the things that if we practice and we work on, we can cultivate our contentment. It's a deep dive into the science of satisfaction, building neural pathways and uncovering some simple home practices to savor the richness of our existing lives. So we're working on our baseline level of contentment. Rather than constantly seeking or avoiding sensations, finding new sources of happiness and avoiding unhappiness, we bring our attention to appreciating the simple joys of everyday life, establishing some baselines, some boundaries and edges around this. So we're turning up the volume on the ordinary and probably noticing that we're quite extraordinary. Falling awake to our experiences instead of constantly needing to escape from ourselves. Holding in mind that the reality is that our brain is not wired for contentment or satisfaction at any point. You are completely normal and human. Okay. So I had to go with Virginia. She's one of my favourites. One cannot think well, love well, sleep well if one has not dined well. So we're looking at contentment around food. Food is more than just sustenance. It speaks to all of our senses. It's beyond nutrients and energy. A meal enjoyed offers a sense of contentment, fulfilment, and satisfaction that reverberates through all aspects of our lives. It emphasizes that the quality and enjoyment of the food we ingest directly impact our cognitive functions, emotional states, and quality of sleep. So I've put it into two contexts here. Physically, so the cognitive functions, quality of sleep, emotional states, but also the range of textures and tastes, the nourishment it gives us, the reactions that our bodies have to it, whether that's wanted or unwanted. So, for example, where we persevere eating a food, even though we know it feels rubbish, and like that's fine to do occasionally, but when we're consistently doing this, it impacts on our mood, but physically also in terms of textures and things that we're repulsed by or that we're attracted to. This will be a really interesting practice, basically. And then there's the emotional side of it, that food can connect us with cherished or dreaded memories and experiences. It can become a source of comfort or it can be a source of distress for us. It has the power to bring people together as a moment to commune and share joy, but it can also divide us because we're having to come together, or also differing preferences and dietary needs. So these are some of the reasons being content around food can be challenging. So they can affect our relationship with eating. And here are some of the common challenges. Emotional eating or under-eating, so a cycle of using food to cope with negative emotions. Cultural and social pressures, how others around us are eating will impact on our own eating patterns. This is something I have seen quite vividly in between France and the UK, for example, where how people here don't walk around with it, compared to the UK, walk around with big coffee cups eating. It's just not something people do here. And then when we go back to England, you can see it more obviously. People don't eat their lunch in front of a computer. They have a 2-hour lunch break. So that's something I've been able to observe myself in relation to my own issues around food. Dieting and food restrictions, so cause feelings of deprivation, making it harder to enjoy food and eat intuitively. I should say that none of this is rocket science, by the way. I'm sure you're familiar with most of these things. There's body image issues, so pressure to achieve the ideal body. Busy lifestyles, so rushed meals and less mindful eating practices leads to less enjoyment and awareness of food, impacting overall contentment. There's lack of knowledge, so a lack of understanding around nutrition and your nutritional needs, and also the way that we're marketed and the media influences us. So when we walk into a supermarket, the majority of food that bombards us with stimulus is a nutrient poor food, but it's very attractive and tastes very delicious, and it's they work very hard for us to be addicted to it. And food accessibility, so frustration and feeling of being trapped in unhealthy eating patterns. That might be within our environments, or perhaps if we go on holiday and you do come to France and you're vegan and there's nothing on offer for you, so you're stuck with bread and oil, for example, or whatever. Anyway, so these are some of the reasons why we can struggle to be content around food. And what we're doing within today's practice is looking at this in a mindful, compassionate way. And this means accepting discomfort, not fixing it, being present in the now, even when there are no flowers or birds singing, even when it's a challenging experience. So noticing, learning, and paying attention. And then the invitation is that by incorporating mindful eating practices into your daily routine, you can develop present moment awareness that enhances both your physical and emotional well-being. So you may be very content around food, and these practices are a way of finding a simple way of practicing mindfulness present moment awareness. So let's explore food in a mindful, compassionate way. So setting up yourself in a posture that's comfortable for you, knowing that it isn't comfortable sitting in silence and stillness. So having that sense of arrival, of having taken your seat. And to begin with, an invitation to bring your awareness to your breath. So we're going to breathe through our nose if we can. And finding a comfortable rhythm for you. Checking in with your posture, aligning your spine in its natural alignment, letting go of any tension or tightening that you might find in the body. And then having a sense of breathing in your body. Breathing in and breathing out. And setting an intention for today's practice to fall awake. As we drop from these very busy prefrontal cortexes, that sort of forehead area of the brain, into the space of the rest of the body that's sending us messages and information constantly and getting ignored. And that the little things can become big things when we don't pay attention to them. You're just taking an internal weather report. How are you today? And what exactly is that in the body? Where do you feel it? Does it have a shape, a colour, a texture, a movement? And now just spending a few moments finding your anchor for today's practice. So when your mind has wandered, lost in stories, or if the practice becomes challenging or feels too much, this can be your safe place to come to. It could be the breath, it could be some neutral part of the body, somewhere without a story that you'll get lost in. It could be the crease behind your left knee, your right eyelid. When your mind has wandered, which it will, you're feeling uncomfortable, you can bring your awareness here. Remembering to take great care of yourself in this practice, that my guidance is simply that, it's a guidance. It's an invitation, and you can say no. We're learning to listen and pay attention to our bodies. And sometimes that might mean not following my instructions. And that's okay. There's no right or wrong way of doing these practices. We're noticing our habits and tendencies with interest and curiosity and kindness. Be playful, be interested. Perhaps setting an intention to be non-judgmental, allowing your experiences to be as they are. We can return to our habitual tendencies outside of the practice, but for this, bringing deliberate, present moment awareness to our experiences as they are, without judgment. So narrowing your awareness to your breath again, breathing in and breathing out. Now an invitation to just quickly step into that prefrontal cortex and think of the last meal that you ate, or the last food that you ate that you remember. You may have had something this morning, it may have been a snack last night, it may have been a meal yesterday. So finding the situation, the environment. Do you visualize it? Are there colours? Can you see the object? Who are you with? What's the weather like? Was it a frustrating experience? Do you remember eating it? The textures, the colours, the shapes, the experience. And we've got this story whirling around in our minds. An invitation to drop into the felt sensation of your body. So what's going on here? for this experience. Fairly ordinary. Might be difficult to notice. Might have been a fairly neutral experience. This is what makes up the majority of our lives, to be honest. These mundane, ordinary, yet quite extraordinary experiences. You can perhaps scan from your feet up to your head, checking in with each nook and cranny. It's this bit of a play with that hedonic adaptation element, that the things that we get used to, the things that we take for granted, the things that we don't pay attention to. 100 years ago would have been quite miraculous. We were able to go to a fridge and just pick out some items and prepare this perhaps mundane meal. Or you may have been at a fancy restaurant, who knows. But what can you notice in your body? Your experience of that mental event that we've just conjured up. Do you feel it in your heart area, your gut area, your face? Has your posture changed? What's happened to your breath? And now an invitation to narrow your awareness back to your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. And then expanding your awareness from the breath to include your whole body. And I want you now to bring into your mind's eye a meal that you've had in your adult life that's been spectacular. You might have lots to choose from, but just picking one. Where are you? Who are you with? Shapes, colours, textures, sounds, what's going on? And then moving the story to one side and dropping into the felt sensation of this mental event. Maybe you've got a smile on your face. Checking in with your posture. Explore each nook and cranny of your body. What is it to be you holding this mental event in your mind's eye? What's happening in the body? What's quiet? What's noisy? What's not giving any information. Okay. As best you can, giving equal attention to it all. We have a tendency to only notice the body when it's causing us distress or comfort or pleasure. Giving some space for those neutral parts of the body. And then letting go of this story and bringing your awareness back to your breath, breathing in and breathing out. Expanding your awareness to include all of the body. Are you breathing here? Now I want you to bring into your mind's eye your favourite meal as a child. Where are you? Who are you with? What is the food, the colours, and maybe the plate it's on? And then stepping out of the story and back into the body. What do you notice? Maybe there was some delight. Maybe it's tinged with a bit of sadness. Dropping into what those feelings are, where are they experienced in the body? Because this is information. This is chemical process and physiological process happening in the body. Our feelings are there to be felt. So where are they? What are they? Do they stay in one particular area of the body? Do they move? Sort of being that impartial witness to yourself. You're taking a bit of an inventory, audit. Knowing that you've got the breath and that anchor if it's too much. your feet, your shins, your knees, your calves, your thighs, your hips, your belly, your back, your chest, your heart, your shoulders, arms, hands, head, face. And then letting go of the story and bringing your awareness back to your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. We're going to move into a short mindful eating practice. So if you don't have anything available, then the invitation is to visualize the experience. So this is just as valuable. So gently making movements to pick up your object or visualizing picking up this object. So it could be a berry, a nut, a small piece of fruit. The invitation is to keep your eyes closed. Just gently notice the textures. Like if you didn't know what this object was, how would you identify it? How would you describe it without giving it a name in terms of its texture? Does it feel cool or warm? And then an invitation to bring this object to your ear. Making these similar movements, checking in with the texture, listening. And then bringing it to your nose. Can you smell anything? Can you notice if it feels cool as you bring it towards your face? And then an invitation to take the tiniest bite and leaving it on the tongue. What's happening? And then moving this awareness, moving this piece of food around the mouth, allowing the tongue to do what the tongue does. Perhaps it's disappeared. Perhaps you're moving it around the taste buds and noticing the textures and the colours and the release of saliva. All these things that your body knows how to do automatically without you having to think consciously about. And chewing, if you haven't already. And swallowing, if you haven't already. Just resting for a few moments in the felt sensation of having made these movements. And then taking a slightly bigger bite if you wish. You can keep it small if you like. Allowing your tongue and teeth and saliva and mouth and jaw to do what they do with mindful present moment awareness. And then in your own time finishing your small piece of food. And then resting in the felt sensation of having made these movements. Was there anything surprising or perhaps disappointing? And then narrowing your awareness to your breath, breathing in and breathing out. And expanding that awareness from the breath to include all of the body. Noticing the points of contact that you're making with the earth. The fabric of your clothes against your skin. The air against your skin. Just spending a few moments exploring where you begin and where you end. Where are you no longer you? Breathing in, breathing out in this body that's housed all of our stories and experiences, a product of our environments, our ancestors, our cultures. This body that works so hard with very direct input from us. Gets very little recognition, and it's unsentimental about it. Every day I see or I hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that makes me like a needle in the haystack of light. It is what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab. The daily presentations, oh good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. So moving and stretching in whatever way you probably ignored during the practice, but suddenly popping up. This could be a nice time to do some sort of gentle twists. And then let's have a nice cup of tea. And I've got Verven again, the beaner. There we go. Let's get this ugly thing out of the way. So again, sounds, textures, colours. Sort of things. This is the sort of thing that when we were children we would have been desperate to do. I'm going to start with the light infusion. So I'm going to pause the recording and we're going to open up the space discussion. So for those of you practicing in your own time, an invitation to reflect on that experience, what was interesting, what you noticed, what you perhaps noticed of what you don't notice, what it was like bringing up these memories for your body. And that's not an easy practice to have done. So if anything did come up for you that you'd like to explore, please do reach out. You're not on your own. You're not on your own with it. And as always, we're going to close with our classic practice of this 3-part breathing space. So this can be used, this is the bread and butter of mindfulness. This is the most important practice, and it's the one that gets the least amount of attention because it doesn't involve lighting candles or sitting with a cup of tea, or you don't need to set yourself up, so it kind of gets left to the side. This is the one I'd encourage you to do over everything. So taking a moment to settle, so you can have your eyes open or closed, up to you. Just checking in with your posture, noticing if you've slumped, elongating the back of your neck, slightly lifting your chin. We're getting tech phone issues at the moment. And then narrowing your awareness to your breath, breathing in and breathing out, and extending that out breath as long as you can. So breathing in through the nose and then breathing out through the nose for as long as you can. And really squeezing that air out. And then letting the breath return to its natural rhythm. Breathe in, breathe out, and expand your awareness to include all of the body. And then we're just going to put one last thing in. So if you're going to do this, you're probably not going to want to do this in public. But when animals are stressed and scared, afterwards, they shake. They shake. So I want you to just shake your hands and shake as much of your body as you wish. They sort of start with their heads and then they move to their legs. And then if we were a zebra, we would just head off, forget all about it and go and eat. Of course, they don't have a prefrontal cortex. So as best you can, taking this sense of connection and awareness into whatever you have left to do with your day. Thank you for joining me. I will see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Sorry, when is this the last session for now, Josephine?
There will be just 1 week break, and then we've got until the 5th of July.
Okay, super. All right, have a lovely break.
Bye.
Bye.